Are you thinking about making a move in Cincinnati, Ohio? Well, today we're going to talk a little bit more about property taxes. Property taxes are oftentimes one of the things that go unnoticed when someone's buying a home. Most people are so focused on the interest rate that they can altogether forget about the property taxes and how that can impact your monthly payment. In this video, we're going to try to cover as much as we can about property taxes. And if you stick around until the end, I'll share with you how you might be able to get yours lowered. So let's get started right now. My name is Angela Evans with Cincinnati, Ohio Living, and I'm helping people just like you move in Cincinnati all the time. So whether you're buying or selling, go ahead and use my contact information in the description box below. I'd love to chat with you about moving in Cincinnati, Ohio. If you want to learn more about Cincinnati and its suburbs, then go ahead and hit subscribe and tap the bell for notifications so that way you never miss a video. All right, so let's start off by talking about what property taxes are. So property taxes are an annual or semi-annual charge levied by a local government. So think of your cities, your villages, your townships, your school districts, things like that. And they're paid for by the owners of real estate in that area. Property taxes are a percentage based on the assessed value of the real estate. In Ohio, real estate taxes are paid on the assessed value, which is 35% of the fair market value or appraised value. We'll go over a property tax example later in the video. Generally, property taxes are used for public school districts, county services like public safety, infrastructure maintenance, and social programs, and also local levies like parks and recreation and libraries, things like that. You can go directly to the website in most counties and see detailed information on property taxes. In Hamilton County, property taxes are due in June and July of each year. Depending on if you have a mortgage on your property or you own your property outright, there are a few different options on how you'll pay your property taxes. So if you have a mortgage on your property, then the property taxes are included in your monthly mortgage payment and will be escrowed monthly and paid to the local tax office on the appropriate due date by the loan service provider. This is also your lender. If you do not have a mortgage on your property, then you'll be sent a tax bill in the mail twice a year, and you can either choose to pay online. There is a service fee assessed for that. You can mail in a check, or you can actually go directly to the county treasurer's office and pay your bill. One thing I do want to point out that once your property taxes are delinquent, your name goes on the property tax delinquent list and gets published to the local newspaper. If it's still delinquent the following November, then it goes to the county prosecutor to initiate foreclosure. There are options for you to pay monthly or get on a payment plan. So if you have any issue ever paying your property taxes, then don't get behind. Contact the county office and work out a plan so that you can stay current on your property taxes and avoid foreclosure. And there are penalties for paying late, so just keep that in mind. It's a percentage based on, if you're 1 to 10 days late, and it's a higher percentage if you're more than 10 days late. So the real question is, what determines the assessed value on your property? Property taxes in Hamilton County go through a valuation process that determines the assessed value used to calculate your tax bill. The valuation process occurs on a 6-year cycle with 2 key stages. The first is reappraisal. A full reappraisal of all properties happens every 6 years in Hamilton County. This involves a physical inspection and analysis of comparable sales to determine the fair market value of each property. The most recent reappraisal in Hamilton County occurred just this past year in 2023, with the next one scheduled for 2029. And the second stage is the triennial update. 3 years after a reappraisal, there's a triennial valuation. This update uses sales data to adjust property values without physically inspecting them. The next triennial update in Hamilton County is coming up in 2026. Before you make your next move in Cincinnati, you can see the tax rates that you could potentially be paying online. And we're going to take a look at those here in a few minutes. One other thing I wanted to point out is that low-income seniors and permanently disabled Ohioans can qualify for the Ohio homestead exemption, which works like a credit and allows homeowners to exempt up to $25,000 of their home's fair market value from local real estate taxes. So Hamilton County property taxes are charged in mills. 1 mil is equal to 1,000th of a dollar or the tax amount per $1,000 of the assessed value. Clear as mud, right? Property taxes can get really confusing. My husband is like an expert on understanding them. I always tell the story of one time my sister was looking to buy a home in the Finneytown area here in Cincinnati, a really cool mid-century modern, original owner. So as you may have guessed already, the property taxes, when they bought this home, were going to jump so significantly, it was going to make the property unaffordable after the next assessment period, because the original homeowner was paying such a low amount for property taxes that once that next sale was recorded and then updated, and Finneytown has some higher property taxes, it was going to jump a significant amount of money, and they actually ended up not buying the house because of that fact. So it is something really to consider, and make sure it's something that you're thinking about and you know about. All right, so I just wanted you to have an idea of what equation was being used to figure out the property taxes, because it can get pretty complicated, to be honest. So you have your fair market value, and you multiply that by 35% to give you your assessed value. Then you take your assessed value times the mill rate divided by 1,000, and that gives you your base real estate taxes. Then you take your base real estate taxes plus any special assessments, and that's the property taxes that are owed. Then you take your property taxes owed and subtract your reduction credits, and that is the property taxes that you actually that are actually due. All right, so you're going to come here to Hamilton County Auditor's website, and you can come down here to property search for public records. And then you're going to type in the street address, or maybe you know the owner's name or the parcel ID. You can use any of those. So when you purchase a new home, the property taxes are likely just going to be whatever the previous homeowner was paying. Your taxes will not change until the valuations take place every 3 years, like I mentioned. So if you were to buy a house right now, the property taxes were just reassessed in 2023, so you wouldn't see another increase until 2026. But it is important to note that there will most likely be an increase if you purchase the property for more than it is valued on the Hamilton County Auditor site right now. I'm just going to have to find a house that's for sale right now. I'm just going to look up new listings. All right, we're going to start a new search here. 6879. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at this house. Is currently listed for sale. It looks like it's listed for $399,000, listed with the Reader team at Hoding Realtors. You can go here to the tax distributions, or you can click on taxes paid. It's going to take you to the same place. So as you can see, this particular one, the market value says $348. That's what it was last sold for in 2022. And then the assessed value that's being taxed on is $121,980. You have your mills here. So you have your full tax rate of the 95.92. You have some reductions, and then you have the effective tax rate here. The half year real taxes are $3128.95. So remember, that's half year. So it's double that for the full year. Sometimes people forget that, and that's why you're gonna have escrowed the full year amount in your mortgage if you're doing that. If you own it outright, you're going to obviously be paying this twice a year. Okay, so something to remember there. But let's say that this house ends up selling for $450,000. Okay, so we're gonna type in here and say I'm the new homeowner, and I want to know, hey, if I buy this house for $450,000, how is that going to impact my taxes the next assessment period, which again is going to be 2026. So you can then hit calculate, and it's going to tell you your estimated full year and estimated half year taxes right here. You have your estimated full year and your estimated half year. So it doesn't go up a crazy amount, again, because this house it just sold a few years ago, so we're already closer. Where it can get a little tricky sometimes is if you're buying from an original homeowner that is not being taxed on a very high price. And that's where you can see like a significant jump. So, and also something to keep in mind is if you're buying from somebody that has a homestead exemption, you're not going to qualify for that same exemption, then at the next assessment period, those are going to jump back up for you. That happened to us on our first house. We bought it from from the original homeowners that built it. They had a homestead exemption, and after the next assessment period, we got a letter from our lender that there was an escrow shortage because taxes had jumped up. And so we had a choice to either lump that into our monthly payment, or you can make a bulk payment. I think at the time it was like making another mortgage payment for us. And I think we went ahead and did that because we didn't want to see the monthly payment increase. Sometimes that's the only option for people. So that is something to consider. And you don't want to get in a situation where you can't afford your monthly payment, or that tax, your escrow shortage that you have on your loan. Those are all things to just keep in mind and be talking about as you're purchasing a home. If you want to know all about Cincinnati, Ohio living and the surrounding suburbs, then go ahead and hit subscribe and tap the bell for notifications, so that way you never miss a video. And if you go here too, you can also see just all the breakdown of where your taxes are being distributed. Your school, your township, village, vocational schools, general funds, the public library, all these different things, all these levies, senior services, children's services. So those are all things that your taxes are paying for. So one thing I do want to note, let's say that this property was purchased for $300,000. Your full year taxes would be about $5,300. Okay. If you purchased it for $400,000, that $5,300 changes to $7,000. So almost $2,000 a year of a jump in $100,000 of purchase price here in Hamilton County. So just something to keep in mind. So not all counties have a tool like this one, like Hamilton County does, to make it easy to calculate your tax rate, but that's why I had those equations for you, and you can always look it up and calculate it yourself. So I'm going to show you that now. So you can go by, you can look here. Let's say we weren't sure what this was going to be. Let's go back to the property summary. We can look up. So in this particular one, we have the tax district is 163. All right. So I'm going to go to, so I just went to hamiltoncounty.ohio.gov. I actually just Googled Hamilton County rates of taxation for 2024, and this is the link that it led me to. And as you can see here, they have real estate tax information. They have the Ohio revised code that you can reference. They have when the taxes are due, January and June of each year. Those dates are different if you own a manufactured home. And then they have the rates of taxation right here that you can click on, and it opens up that sheet that I was referring to for you. And then it has some places that you can contact if you have questions or issues or whatever. This form, which was found on the Hamilton County Treasurer site, and you can see here, it goes through all the codes, the tax district numbers. So I'm going to go down to 163 right here. So you have 163, you can come over, this is your township, this is your school district, and here it's going to show you, this is your Hamilton County tax rate right here. Here is your Great Parks of Hamilton County tax rate, your library, your special district, if that applies, your township rate, your school rate. Let's see here. Your city or village rate, if that applies, your vocational rate, and what your total mills are. And then you have some reductions here. As you can see, it will have your total residential effective rate. I'm sorry, so I was looking at the wrong thing. That other one's a commercial industrial, and we're looking at residential right now. So 56.86 is what that one was. Let's see if that's what it tells us here on tax distributions. So 56.86. Okay, so that is how you find that. Okay, this spreadsheet is super interesting, but it gives you the rates of taxation for the taxes paid. Each year they're required to publish this. So you can literally go through and see every single area. You could look for a specific city or village. For example, here's Wyoming, Indian Hill, Silverton, Deer Park. And you can go through and literally see all the rates. It looks like for the first three things, which are the Hamilton County rate, Great Parks, and the library, those are all the same for everybody in Hamilton County, okay? But then when you go on to like special districts, if they have certain district rates, township rates, school rates, schools, those do vary. Your city or village rate, which only applies if you live in a city or village. Your joint vocational rate, which some don't have, and those are relatively low. And then it'll have your total full rate. Now that's, again, remember, that's before any reductions happen. So that's not the rate that you're necessarily paying. That's before any reductions. Okay. So one more thing I wanted to talk about was, if you disagree with your property's assessed value, you have the right to appeal it to the Hamilton County Board of Revision. You need to provide sufficient proof to justify the valuation of your property. So I just went on here to their website. It looks like it is the Hamilton County Auditor's Board of Revision website. And they actually have step-by-step instructions for how to contest your property value. Because we were just in an assessment period, there are lots of people that probably did this year. So that's something to keep in mind. You have to file it between January 1st and March 31st following the assessment period. Anyway, it goes through here and it details out what you have to do. Some of the main things to consider are, like, maybe you had a recent sale and they have the property assessed for way more than you bought it for. So you can use those closing statements, purchase contract, an appraisal from that purchase to help lower. Or you could have an independent appraisal done. Let's say that you bought a house based on the auditor, they think it's a $500,000 house, but they don't know that the entire inside, that there was a fire and there's extensive damage that has to be repaired, let's say $300,000 worth. So you can get a quote from a contractor, signed by a contractor, and that can be, a cost estimate to repair a deficiency in your home. So you can use things like that, and you can also do for income producing property, you can put your expense and income statements, things like that. So if you have more questions about that, I'm happy to help as much as I can. Keep in mind, this is not any legal advice at all. If you want to challenge the amount that you pay, it's probably best to contact a local real estate attorney, which I can connect you with. But you can only challenge the market value of your property. You can't challenge something like the levies on the community or things like that. So if the assessed value of your property is significantly higher than what you paid for the property, you can look at comparable sales within the last 3 to 6 months and use that as a basis to challenge the amount of taxes that you're paying. So remember, the amount of tax you pay is based on the percentage of the assessed property value. So if you can get the assessed value lowered on your property, then that means the less you have to pay when your taxes are due. Again, you should contact a local real estate attorney to get the correct information you need in order to potentially reduce your property taxes. All right, so here's some of the areas with the highest millage rates before any reductions are taken into account: Marymount, Finneytown, Wyoming, Madeira, Lincoln Heights, Green Hills, Forest Park, Deer Park, parts of Springfield Township, and Loveland. The areas with the highest township millage rates are Delhi Township, Columbia Township, and Springfield Township. The areas with the highest city and village rates are Lincoln Heights, Gulf Manor, and Green Hills. And last but not least, the area with the highest school tax rates. You have Marymount at the top of the list, Madeira, Finneytown, Wyoming, and Deer Park. Remember, all of those are in Hamilton County, which is the southwestern county in Ohio that downtown Cincinnati is located within. If you want to know more about the taxes and how they work in other areas, go ahead and drop a comment below and let me know what area you're looking in so I can see if that's something that I can help you with. So I hope this video today was helpful for you. I know it's a lot of information. If you have any questions at all, do not hesitate to reach out using my contact information in the description box below. I would love to jump on a Zoom call with you, and we can even walk through the auditor site to figure out, what type of area you're looking in, and we can look up specific houses and everything like that. I can also help you figure out, if you're buying or selling, how those taxes are going to be prorated at closing, because that is always a really confusing thing to do and something that I'd be more than happy to help you with when you're making a move here in Cincinnati. Thanks for checking in today.